In this lesson, we will introduce the if command or function of Excel. We will understand what it does, what is the syntax of this function, and then we will apply it to text data using a data file. The if command in Excel, also known as the if statement, is a very useful command. Proper usage of this statement can make data analysis a lot more productive and fun. Let us see the syntax of this if command. So the syntax begins with is equal to, then I put in if, open parenthesis, and then it takes in three inputs. The very first input is the logical test or the condition I wish to evaluate, the results of which would then dictate what do I need to do further. So that's the first input. The second input is value if true. That is, if the logical test is true, what value do I need to put or what steps do I need to take? Then the third input in the syntax is value if false. That is, if the logical test or the condition that I have evaluated, if that is false, what steps do I need to take or what value do I need to put in? Once again, is equal to if, open parenthesis, the very first input is the logical test that I need to execute, the condition that I need to check. Based on that, if the logical test is true, what value do I put in? Else, separated by a comma, if the logical test is not true or it is false, what value do I need to put in? And then close parenthesis. Let's see it by way of an example by opening an Excel file. So we'll open the file store sales. We have been using that file in earlier lessons also. So this file contains sales data from an online office supply stores based out of Canada. So we have seen this file in earlier lessons. Amongst the many variables, one of the variables that this file has is order priority. That is, the company attaches, for every order, it attaches an order priority. Either the priority is low, or it is medium, or it is high, or it is critical, or in some situations, there is no priority attached. That is, it is not specified. So 5 categorizations of order priority: low, medium, high, critical, and not specified. Now, let's say instead of this order priority, we wish to give it a priority star rating. That is, we wish to give the order a 3-star rating if the order priority is critical, and in all other situations, I wish to give it a single star rating. That is, if the order priority is either low, medium, high, or not specified, I'll give it a single star rating. And if the order priority is critical, I would give it a 3-star rating. So let's see how we implement this priority star rating using the if command. So I insert a column next to order priority. I select that column, do a right click, insert. Let me increase the size of this column. And let me give a title to this column. Let me call it priority star rating. And once again, my decision rule is that if the order priority is critical, I would give it a 3-star rating. In all other situations, whether it is high, not specified, low, or medium, I would give it a single star rating. So for that, I do a is equal to, I'll use the if command. If, open parenthesis, and notice Excel is prompting me that I need to put in 3 inputs there. The first input is the logical test. So what is the logical test in this case? I wish to check whether the order priority, is it equal to critical or not. So I select that cell C2, do a is equal to, I wish to check whether cell C2 is critical. And since critical is textual data, I will put it within quotation marks. So I give a open quotation, critical, and then close quotation. So I'm testing, I'm checking whether the value in cell C2 is that equal to critical, and since critical is textual data, I put it in quotation marks, comma. Then my second input is, what do I do if the value is true? That is, if it is indeed critical, I need to put in 3 stars. So again, since star is a textual data, I'll put it within quotation marks, 3 stars, close quotation, comma. And now the third input in the syntax is, what do I need to put in if the logical test is false? That is, if the order priority is not critical, what do I need to do? In that case, I need to put in, as per my decision rule, I need to put in a single star. So again, within quotation marks, I'll put a single star, close quotation, and this completes my command. So I'll close it with a parenthesis. So if I press enter now, notice because my order priority is critical, it has given it a 3-star rating. What if I copy and paste this formula down? So I select the cell, take my cursor to the bottom right hand corner till I see a thin plus sign, and then drag it down. Now, since the second order has a priority high, which is not equal to critical, hence I need to give it a single star rating, and the if command does give it a single star rating. Again, I can further copy and paste it down. Again, not specified because it is not critical, it gives it a single star rating. And similarly, I can now copy and paste this formula to populate the entire column. So I take my cursor to the bottom right till I see a thin plus sign, do a double click. So it copies and pastes the formula throughout the column. And notice wherever the order priority is critical, it has put in 3 stars, and wherever it is not critical, it has put in a single star. So that is how we use the if command to implement this priority star rating. This lesson is a continuation of our study of the if function of Excel. We will now be applying the if command or function to numeric data as contrasted to textual data that we applied it to in a previous lesson. Continuing with our study of the if command, we now apply it to numerical data as contrasted to textual data that we applied it to in the previous lesson. So this file, store sales, also has a column of $sales value. Notice some of these values have 4 decimal places, but we can easily correct it. I can select the entire column, do a right click, format cells, and then choose a number and choose 2 decimal places and do it OK. So now all these values are displayed in 2 decimal places. So now this sales column, let's say I want to tag these sales. That is, I want to tag all the sales that are in excess of $1,000. Or in other words, I want to give it a value 1 whenever the sales is in excess of $1,000, and whenever it is either $1,000 or less than $1,000, I want to tag it with a 0. Again, I can use an if command for that purpose. So I insert a column next to the sales column. Insert. Let me increase the size. And let me give it a heading. Sales. Since I'm tagging sales which are greater than $1,000, let me call it sales, open parenthesis, greater than $1,000. Once again, what I wish to do is I wish to put in a 1 whenever the sales is in excess of $1,000. Otherwise, I wish to put in a 0 there. So again, I'll use an if command. I do a is equal to if, open parenthesis. My logical test now is I wish to test whether the sales is greater than $1,000. So I select cell F2, and now I put in a greater than and then 1,000. Very important thing, notice because 1,000 is numeric data, I have not enclosed it within quotation marks. I use quotation marks only when I'm dealing with textual data. So if, open parenthesis, whatever is in cell F2, if that is greater than $1,000, if this condition is true, what I need to do, put a comma. if this condition is true, I need to tag it with a 1. I need to put in 1. Else, comma, if this condition is false, what do I need to do? I need to put in a 0. Once again, notice I have not enclosed 1 and 0 within quotation marks because these are numeric data. I use quotation marks only for textual data. So I close parenthesis, and that completes my if command. So I press a return, and notice it has given me a 0 there. Now, you would also notice it has given me 0 with 2 decimal places. I can always change that. Once again, I select the entire column, do a right click, format cells, number, and instead of decimal places being 2, I change it to 0. I don't want to see decimal places. I just want to see ones and zeros. Do an OK. So I get a 0 there. Now, if I copy it down, once again, I get a 0 there because the sales is less than $1,000, is less than or equal to $1,000. Another 0 there. When I copy and paste it down, now I get a 1. Why? Because the sales, which is $1,531.17, is greater than $1,000. Hence, as per my rule, as per my tagging rule, I need to put in a 1 there, and that's what the if command is doing. And now I can copy and paste it all the way down. I take my cursor till I see a thin plus sign, do a double click, and this populates the entire column. That is, it puts in 1 wherever the order is in excess of $1,000, and it puts in a 0 wherever the order is either $1,000 or less than $1,000. So that is how we used an if command with numeric data. Once again, the important thing is that in using the if command with numeric data, I do not enclose the numeric data within quotation marks. I always use quotation marks only for textual data. In the following lesson, we extend our usage of the if command in Excel by nesting another if statement within an existing if command. In other words, creating a nested if command. We then apply it to an existing data. Let us see how the nested if command is implemented in Excel. So the syntax is similar to the if command. I do a is equal to if, open parenthesis. I first test the logical test, or the condition I evaluate. Based on that, if the logical test is true, what value I need to put in? Otherwise, if the logical test is false, what value do I put in? So that's our regular if command. But what makes it a nested if command is that now, instead of putting in a value if false, or for that matter, value if true, rather than putting in values there, I would execute yet another if command. So for example, in this case, instead of putting in a value, if the logical test is false, I would replace it with yet another if command. So my syntax becomes is equal to if, open parenthesis. I first evaluate the logical test. Based on the logical test, if it is true, I put in a value. If it is not true, rather than putting in a value, I execute yet another if command. Let us see this by way of an example by opening our Excel file, store sales. So we'll open the file store sales. We've been using this file in a lot of our lessons. It contains data from an online office supply store based out of Canada. So in an earlier lesson, when we illustrated the use of the if command, we had recoded the order priority into something called a priority star rating, where we gave a 3-star rating to any order which had a critical priority and gave a single star rating to all other orders. That is, any order which had a low priority, a medium priority, a high priority, or if the priority was not specified, we gave a single star rating, and all orders with critical priority, we gave it a 3-star rating. Now let's modify this priority star rating a little bit. So instead of having just 2 categories, 3-star and 1-star, Let us now introduce a third category. So I'll give it a 3-star whenever the order priority is critical. Whenever the order priority is high, I'll now give it a 2-star, and in all other situations, I'll give it a single star. That is, I'll give a single star whenever it is either low, medium, or not specified, it gets a single star. Whenever it is high, it gets a 2-star. Whenever it's critical, it gets a 3-star. So let's see how we can use a nested if command to implement this. So once again, I insert a column, right click, insert, and let me increase the size of this column. So let me give it a name, revised priority star rating. So I begin with is equal to if, open parenthesis, my logical test. What is my logical test? I wish to test whether the order priority, first I'll test whether it is critical. So I select C2 is equal to, within quotation marks, I put critical because critical is textual data. Critical. So I'm testing, I'm checking whether the order priority is critical. If indeed it is critical, what do I need to do? I need to put in 3 stars there as per my revised priority star rating. So I put in within quotation marks 3 stars. That is, if the order priority is critical, I need to put in 3 stars there, comma, what if the order priority is not critical? Now, here we wish to now again test, execute yet another if command. So once the order execution reaches this point, I know that the order priority is not critical. But now I wish to check whether it is high, because if the order priority is high, I would give it a 2-star rating, else I would give it a single star rating. So instead of putting in a specific value, I put in yet another if command. So if, open parenthesis, now I test whether this order priority or whatever is in cell C2, if that is equal to high. Since high is textual data, I'll enclose it within quotation marks. So I'm testing whether whatever is in the order priority, if that is equal to high. If it is indeed high, I need to put in 2 stars. So within quotation marks, I put in 2 stars, close quotation marks. If it is not high, now mind you, the fact that the program execution reaches this point, we know that it is not critical, because if it were critical, it would have already put in 3 stars. So we know that the order priority is not critical. So next we check whether it is high. If it is high, I put in 2 stars. Else, in all other situations, I put in a single star. Within quotation mark, single star. And I close parenthesis. I close appropriate parenthesis to make sure that the number of close parentheses is equal to the number of open parentheses. So all parentheses are matched. Now, once again, notice the syntax. I execute an if command. I check whether the order priority is critical. If indeed it is critical, I put in 3 stars. If, on the other hand, if it is not critical, then I execute yet another if command. And within that if command, now I test. I know that it is not critical, hence it has reached this point. So within this if command, now I test whether the order priority is high. If it is high, I put in 2 stars, else I put in a single star. And that completes my nested if structure. So I press a enter or a return, and I get 3 stars there, because as per my priority star rating, critical orders should get 3 stars. Let me copy and paste it down. Take my cursor to the bottom right and drag it down. Now the next order gets 2 stars. Why? Because the order priority is high, and as per my revised priority star rating, it should get 2 stars. So the nested if structure seems to be working appropriately. I further copy and paste it down. The next order priority is not specified, hence it should get a single rating. And now I can copy and paste it all the way down. Take my cursor to the bottom right corner till I see a thin plus sign, do a double click. So you would notice whenever the order priority is critical, it gives it a 3 star. Whenever the order priority is high, it gives it a 2 star. And in all other situations, it gives it a single star. So that's how we implement a nested if structure within Excel. This lesson explores the lookup functionality of Excel. We introduce the VLOOKUP or vertical lookup function, understand its syntax and situations where it is applicable, and then apply it and demonstrate it using data. So the syntax of the VLOOKUP command begins with a is equal to VLOOKUP, open parenthesis, and then it takes in 4 inputs. The first 3 inputs are required inputs, and the fourth input is an optional input, and hence it is also put in square parentheses. So let's look at an Excel example to understand these various inputs. So let's go to Excel and open the file store sales. We have been using these files in earlier lessons also. This file contains sales orders from an online office supply based out of Canada. So amongst various variables, there's a variable there, order priority. Now, the store attaches a priority to each order. It could either attach a critical priority, a high priority, a low priority, a medium priority, or the priority is not specified. In one of the earlier lessons, we had recharacterized this order priority into something called a priority star rating, where for every critical order, we gave it a 3-star rating. For every high order, a high priority order, we gave it a 2-star rating. And for all other orders, either not specified or low or medium, we gave it a single star rating. So we used a nested if function in Excel to implement that priority star rating. Now we'll do the same thing, but we will use the VLOOKUP command. So let us insert a column here. I select this column, do a right click, insert. So it inserts a column here. Let me increase the size of the column and give it a title, priority star rating. So I'll now do the same thing. I'll be putting stars here, 3 stars for a critical order, 2 stars for a high priority order, and single star for all other priorities. But I'll use a VLOOKUP command. So to use the VLOOKUP command, I need to first have a lookup table in my spreadsheet. So rather than putting a lookup table somewhere at the end of the worksheet or in some other worksheet, let me place the lookup table right next to this column. So for that, I'll insert a couple of empty columns here. I select these columns, do a right click, insert. So it inserts 3 empty columns there. So I'll be putting my VLOOKUP table in one of these columns. The very first column of the lookup table needs to contain the values that I wish to match in my data. So in my case, I need to match the order priorities. So my very first column in the lookup table, I'll put the various order priorities. So the order priority could be either low, could be medium, could be high, it could be critical, or it may be not specified. You need to be careful about spellings here. The spelling needs to be properly aligned, otherwise we may get errors there. So my first column is the set of values that I wish to match or look up in my data. The next column is then based on these matches, what star priority rating do I need to give? So my end goal is I need to fill up this priority star rating. So in my lookup table, I need to give in the next column what star ratings for these different categories. For example, if it's a low order, I need to give a single star. It's a medium order, again, I need to give a single star. For a high order, I need to give 2 stars. For a critical order, I need to give 3 stars. And for a not specified order, again, I need to give a single star. So that completes my lookup table. The first column, once again, is the values that I need to match. And the second column is, based on those values, what star ratings do I need to give? Now, one important aspect of the lookup table is that it needs to be sorted in an ascending order based on the very first column. So that is, based on this column, I need to sort this entire lookup table in an ascending order. So let's do that. So I select my lookup table. I go to data. I go to sort. So my data does not have any headers. That's why I'll not check the my data has headers box. I'll let it remain unchecked. Then I need to specify sort by. So I need to sort based on column E. That is my first column of the lookup table. So I select column E. And the order of sorting needs to be in an increased order. So A to Z, an incrementing order. So that's what I choose. And I do an OK. So it sorts my lookup table in an increasing order per the alphabet based on the very first column. Now the next step is to execute the VLOOKUP function. For that, I go to my cell D2, enter is equal to VLOOKUP, open parenthesis. And notice now Excel is prompting me to put in those 3 required inputs and 1 optional input. So the very first input, it is asking me to put up the lookup value. That is, what do I wish to look up? In this case, I wish to look up critical and then see what star rating does critical relate to. So instead of typing critical, I pick up the value critical by putting the cell reference C2. So I need to look up whatever value is given in cell C2, comma. So that's my lookup value. My next input is the table array or my lookup table. Where is my lookup table? Where I would be looking up this value critical. So remember, I'll be looking up the value critical in the very first column of my lookup table, and then I'll be picking up the corresponding star rating. So my table, my VLOOKUP table is as selected in cells E6 to F10. Now, because we'll be copying and pasting this formula all the way down, hence I need to fix the referencing of this table. That is, when I copy and paste this formula, I want always the lookup table to be referred to E6 through F10. So to do that, I put in appropriate dollar signs in front of both the alphabets as well as the numerals. In one of our earlier lessons, we had talked about this referencing, this fixed referencing and relative referencing by putting dollar signs when we need to copy and paste formulas. So it was talked about in one of the earlier lessons. So that's my second input. Now my third input is, once the VLOOKUP command finds a match, in this case of critical in the very first column of the lookup table, what do I need to do next? Or what column should I then access to output the star rating? So because my star rating is in column 2 of the lookup table, I'll put in a value 2 there. That is, once it finds the value critical, then it should output whatever is in the second column, the corresponding value in the second column, comma, and my last input, which is an optional input, is either a true or a false. So putting a false option there instructs Excel that I'm looking for an exact match. That is, if the word critical is not found in the lookup table, Excel would return an error there. Instead, if I put in a true there, it will do an approximate match. That is, if it does not find the word critical in the lookup table, it will look at the next approximate word and then output the corresponding star rating. In my case, I want a exact match. So I'll put a false option there. If I had not put any option, by default, Excel would assume the true option to be there. So I close parenthesis and then I press enter. Now notice, because critical corresponds to 3-star rating, my VLOOKUP command has appropriately gone to the lookup table. In the very first column, it searched for critical, it found critical, then as instructed, it picked up the corresponding value from the second column after this first column, which is column F, and it picked up 3-star rating. Let's copy this formula and paste it in the next cell. Now, appropriately, I get a 2-star rating because the order priority high corresponds to a 2-star rating, and appropriately, Excel is picking it up from the lookup table. And the same thing I can now copy and paste all the way down. So whenever there's a critical priority, there's 3-star. Whenever it is high, it is 2 stars. In all other situations, I have a single star rating. And I can also format this table. I could do select this column. I could do a right aligned. I could do a left aligned. I could do a center aligned. So let's go along with the center aligned. And so that's how I have implemented now a priority star rating based on the order priority, in the same way as we had done in one of the earlier lessons using the nested if command. Now we have done the same thing using the VLOOKUP command. So V stands for vertical, so vertical lookup command. We further explored the use of VLOOKUP function of Excel and apply it in a situation where we need to look up data in a table, not in terms of an exact match, but an approximate match. Another VLOOKUP example. In an earlier lesson, we had introduced the VLOOKUP command in Excel and worked through an example. We'll now look at another example using the VLOOKUP, but now we'll implement it in a slightly different manner. So let's open our spreadsheet and let's open the file store sales. We have been using this file. And for better viewing clarity, let us increase the zoom level to 150. So in an earlier lesson, we had looked at the order priority column and used the VLOOKUP command to put in a star priority rating or priority star rating, whereby we gave 3 stars to a critical order priority, 2 stars for a high order priority, and 1 star for all other priorities. We'll now use the VLOOKUP command on another variable in the dataset. Specifically, we'll be using the order quantity. So the company has come up with a quantity discount. That is, it has decided to offer discounts to customers based on the quantity ordered. So for example, the very first order ID 23429, this customer ordered a total of 28 units in the order. So the quantity discount scheme is as follows. So let me introduce a few empty columns in the spreadsheet to put down the quantity discount scheme. So I select these columns, do a right click, insert, and I insert a few, 3 specifically empty columns. So the quantity discount scheme is as follows. For any quantity between 1 and 10, 10 not included, the company would give a discount of 1%, 0.01. For any orders between 10 and 20, 20 not inclusive, the company would give a discount of 2%. Similarly, any order between 20 and 30, 30 not included, the company would give a discount of 3%. Any order between 30 and 40, order quantity being between 30 and 40, 40 not included, but 30 included, the company would give a discount of 4%. Between 40 and 50, 50 not included, the company would give a discount of 5%. And for any order which is either 50 units or greater than 50 units, the company would give a discount of 6%. So this is the order quantity discount scheme that the company has come up with. Now, what we wish to do is we wish to fill in a column called discount and appropriately put down the amount of discount that each specific order would be entitled to. For example, the very first order has 28 quantity. So as per my scheme, the order should be getting a discount of 3% because it is between 20 and 30, 30 not inclusive. So how do I do that? I would use the VLOOKUP command. So I'll first select the column. Now this is not necessary, but I'm doing it just so that it is a little bit more clearer when I'm typing or illustrating the VLOOKUP command. I align it left. I'll do a left alignment. So now I do a is equal to VLOOKUP, open parenthesis. The first input I need to put in is the lookup value. What do I wish to look up? So I wish to look up this number 28. I do a comma. The next input is where do I wish to look up this number 28? So I wish to look up this number 28 in my lookup table. So I select my lookup table, also known as the table array, as Excel is prompting me. Put a comma there. The third input is, so now remember, Excel will try to search for 28 in the very first column of my lookup table. Now, when it finds the number 28, what do I wish to do? I wish to output the corresponding value in the second column of my lookup table. So my next input, the column index number would be 2, comma, and my last input here becomes very important. So I need to put in either a true or a false. The default option, if I do not put any option, is true. So what does a false option do? A false option would try to search for the number 28, do an exact match in the lookup table. That is, it will try to search for exactly the number 28 in the very first column of the lookup table. If it does not find that number 28, it would return an error. Now, clearly, I don't want that. I want the number to be outputted for order quantity 28 to be 3%. So instead of a false option, which does an exact match, I'll put in a true option. So what does a true option do? So a true option, first, the VLOOKUP command will try to search for 28 in the very first column of a lookup table. If it does not find 28, it will look for the next closest lower number than 28. That's important. The next closest lower number than 28. And output, so in this case, it will find 20, which is the next lower number than 28, and then output the corresponding value in the second column, which is 3%. Now, one note of caution here, my lookup table needs to be properly sorted per the very first column of my lookup table. So I execute this command. So as you would see, 28, order quantity 28 gets a discount of 3%. Now I can copy and paste this formula all the way down. But before I copy and paste it, I need to put in appropriate dollar signs into the formula so that I fix the referencing of my lookup table. That is, when I copy and paste this formula down, I always want my lookup table to be referenced in cells F5 through G10. So how do I fix that referencing? By putting dollar signs in front of the alphabet as well as the numeral. Putting a dollar sign in front of the alphabet fixes the particular column, and a dollar sign in front of the numeral fixes that particular row. I do not put a dollar sign in front of D2. Why? Because when I copy and paste this formula down, I want the formula to progressively increment. That is, in the next line, I want D2 to change to D3, then D4, then D5, and so on. So I press a return, and now I can copy and paste it all the way down. And you would notice that appropriately, the discount amount, the discount percentage, has been put in my column E, the discount column. Now, one important feature of such an implementation is that, let's say next week, the company decides to do small changes in this discount scheme. Specifically, whenever the order quantity is between 20 and 30, instead of a discount of 0.03 or 3%, the company has decided now to give a discount of 3.5%. So the 0.03 becomes 0.035. I change it in my lookup table, press enter, and you would notice that automatically in my discount column, wherever the order quantity is between 20 and 30, 30 not included, the discount percentage has changed to 0.035. I can now, if I want, again change the formatting of the discount column and do a center alignment there instead of left align. So that is how we implement the VLOOKUP command in this specific example. This lesson introduces the HLOOKUP function, also known as the horizontal lookup in Excel. We see its similarity with the VLOOKUP function in terms of syntax, and we also see the difference in terms of looking up a table horizontally versus vertically. The function is illustrated using an example. The HLOOKUP function in Excel is very similar to the VLOOKUP function which we studied in a prior lesson. The only difference being, as the name suggests, an HLOOKUP looks up a table horizontally, while a VLOOKUP, in contrast, looks up a table vertically. The syntax of the HLOOKUP function begins with a is equal to HLOOKUP, and just like the VLOOKUP command, it takes in 4 inputs, very similar to the inputs that the VLOOKUP command takes. The first input is the lookup value, what I wish to look up. Second is my lookup table. And third is where the difference comes in, a slight difference. Now, instead of a column index number, as was used in the VLOOKUP command, I have a row index number. Because the HLOOKUP looks up a table horizontally, I need to specify which specific row, value in which specific row needs to be outputted once a match is made. And then the final input is the range lookup. It's an optional command. For an exact match, I put a false. For an approximate match, I put a true. So let's see it by way of an example. Let's open the Excel file, store sales. We have been using this file in prior lessons. And in one of the earlier lessons, when we introduced the VLOOKUP command, we had recategorized this order priority column by giving it a priority star rating. And we used a VLOOKUP command for that. Specifically, we gave it a 3-star rating whenever the order was critical, a 2-star rating whenever the order priority was high, and in all of the cases, whether the order priority was not specified, or it was low, or it was medium, we gave it a single-star rating. Now let's do the same thing, but instead of a VLOOKUP command, I'll use a HLOOKUP command. So I insert a column here, insert, and I call it priority star rating. And for ease of exposition, I would left align it, though it's not really required for the purpose. I simply am doing it for ease of exposition. So I'll be putting my priority star rating here using the HLOOKUP command. Now to put up my lookup table, the horizontal lookup table, let me introduce a few columns here. I insert a few columns. I'll reduce the column width there. I put up my horizontal lookup table here. So my order, so these are the values of the order priority that I need to look up. An order priority could either be low, It either could be medium, high, critical, or not specified. We need to be particular about the spellings that we type. These are the 5 order priorities. Now notice I have put them in a horizontal manner as contrasted to a vertical manner in a VLOOKUP command. So whenever the order priority is low or whenever the order priority is critical, I need to put in 3 stars there. Whenever it is high, I need to put in 2 stars. And in all other cases, I need to put in a single star. Single star for low priority, single star for medium, and a single star when the priority is not specified. Next, to use the HLOOKUP command, I put in is equal to HLOOKUP, open parenthesis. Excel prompts me that I need to put in 4 inputs. The very first input is the lookup value. What do I need to look up? So I need to look up the order priority in column C. In this specific first instance, I need to look up the priority in cell C2. So I put in the reference there, cell C2, comma. My second input now is the table array, or in other words, the lookup table. Where is my lookup table? So I select my lookup table. Notice this is a horizontal lookup table. So I select this table. And because I'll be copying and pasting this formula down, I put in appropriate dollar signs to fix the referencing of this table when this formula is copied and pasted down. So I could either manually insert dollars, or a quick way to do that is to press F4. It puts in dollar signs appropriately. It fixes that particular lookup table. My next input is once, so in this case, HLOOKUP will look up the value in the order priority column. It will go to the table and look up that value in the very first row. Once it finds a match, I need to output the corresponding star rating, which is in the second row of the table. Hence, my row index number I put in there as 2. My second row, I need to output the value in the second row once a match is made. And the last input is an optional input. But in this case, it is very important that I put a false, which is an exact match, because if I want an approximate match and I put a true, then it is important that my lookup table is properly sorted in an ascending manner. So in this case, it is not really sorted in an ascending manner. So I'll put in a false or an exact match. And I close parenthesis. You notice my priority star rating for the very first order is 3 stars, as it should be. When I copy and paste it down, the second priority star rating is 2 stars, which should be because the original order priority is high. I further copy it down, single star for a not specified, and I can now copy and populate the entire table. Do a double click when I see a thin plus sign, and it copies the formula throughout the column. So notice we have implemented the priority star rating, giving the order priority star ratings using the HLOOKUP command as contrasted to a VLOOKUP command, which we did in a prior lesson. In the following session, we build a fun simulation for Professor Know-It-All using the VLOOKUP function. The simulation provides the professor to call on students in her class at random. Professor Know-It-All, who teaches an elective course, has approached us for some help. What she needs is, she needs an Excel-based simulation for her class. Her class consists of 20 students, and she has a specific requirement to build in a simulation for her class. So let's see the names of the students in the class, the 20 names. So let's open our spreadsheet and open the file student names. So these are the 20 students in a name. They're numbered 1 through 20. And what Professor Know-It-All wants is that at a press of a button, she wants to generate a name from this list of 20 students at random, so that she can then call upon that student to come in front of the class and give a presentation. So she wants to randomize this process. To meet this requirement, what we'll do is we'll use the VLOOKUP command. And in particular, we'll use the VLOOKUP command in conjunction with yet another command, which is the RANDBETWEEN command. So RANDBETWEEN command takes in two inputs. First input is bottom. The second input is top. So what the RANDBETWEEN command does is it generates an integer valued random number between the two numbers, bottom and top. Bottom is the lower number, top is the higher number. Between these two numbers, the command would generate a number at random, which is an integer. So we'll use this in conjunction with the VLOOKUP command. So we do a is equal to. Remember, the requirement is that the professor know-it-all wants to generate a name at random from this list of 20 students. So we do a VLOOKUP, open parenthesis. What is the value I need to look up? Now here we'll use the RANDBETWEEN command. I'll generate the lookup value using the RANDBETWEEN command. So I type in RANDBETWEEN. And what are the two numbers? What are the bottom and top numbers? Since the class consists of 20 students and they're numbered 1 through 20, my lower number is 1 and the upper number is, the top number is 20. So this is my lookup value. RANDBETWEEN 1, 20 will generate a lookup value at random between 1 and 20, 1 and 20 included. So it will generate random numbers 1 through 20. Next, once this lookup value is generated, what do I need to do? Where is my table array or the lookup table that I need to look up this value? So it is my table with the student names and their serial numbers. So that's my lookup table. Remember, the VLOOKUP command will always look up the value in the very first column of the table. So it will look up the random number generated in the very first column. Once it finds a match, what do I need to do? I need to output the corresponding student's name, which is in column 2. So I put the column index number as 2. And finally, I need to put either a true or a false. False for an exact match, true for an approximate match. In this case, it really doesn't matter. So I'll put a false, which is an exact match. And now when I press enter, a student name at random would be generated from this list. So Anthony, in this case, the name Anthony is generated. And if I wish to generate further names at random, all I need to do is press F9 on my keyboard. So every time I press F9, notice a name at random gets generated from this list. So this is how we have fulfilled that simulation requirement of Professor Know-it-all using the VLOOKUP command in conjunction with the RANDBETWEEN command.
Thank you for watching our video. We hope you found it helpful. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button below and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. If you know someone who could benefit from this information, please share it with them. We would love to hear your thoughts on this learning course, so please leave a comment below. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.